Hello and welcome back to some more Assetto Corsa Competizione. Now I've been wanting to try the AI on this game ever since the game actually came out. The last time I tested it was back when it was still in early access, so I really wanted to give it another crack, see what the AI are like, and basically figure out if this game is going to be worth it to anyone who wants to play predominantly offline, and that's what I'm going to do today. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is figure out what sort of race, where, what track I'm at, what car I'm going to use, what the difficulty is. So I'm just going to do a single player race today. I'm going to do that at Brands Hatch. It's a track I know and love, but it's a tough track, fun nonetheless. Under the custom race weekend, you can see what settings I was running. The important thing here is the opponent's skill level. I set to 85. Now I did try it on 90, and certainly in the qualifying stage they just seemed too fast. So as for the car, I went for the Ferrari 488. I thought, hey, let's use David Perel. There's a guy who knows how to sim race. There's a guy who knows how to race in real life. Maybe he'll give me the luck I need to take the win. So let's jump into the race and see how I go. Okay, so I did manage to put it on 6th position to start this race. It was a pretty rubbish qualifying lap, to be honest. I didn't quite get one together. It was only a 10-minute session. There was a lot of traffic that I had to contend with. So whilst there were blue flags being waved, you could visibly see the blue flags being waved. The AI didn't really seem to give too many hoots about that. So I only really ended up, it was actually my very first flying lap that got me the time that put me 6th. So not the best. Again, difficult trying to pick what level of AI I should be on. Now what I was doing here before the start of the race is just desperately trying to get some temperature into those front brakes. I was never going to warm the tyres up in time, but you can see already I've managed to bring the brake temperatures up to a relatively decent temperature before the start of the race, which is a good thing because it means coming into turn 1 and in fact for the first couple of turns I don't have to worry about brake temperature, but we are away. So let's see the radar, of course, on Assetto Corsa Competizione in the middle of the screen under the mirror. I did back off there. I really didn't want to be involved in too many incidences. To start with, almost nailed the back of that guy. He just rolled right out of it. Nonetheless, I will tuck in. That's up to 5th position and a good start to the race. Very, very slow there. I think I gave him a slight nudge in the rear. Nothing too much to worry about, but nonetheless, he did almost come to a complete stop, it felt like, in that corner. So I thought, make haste while the sun shines. Quick late braking manoeuvre up into what is a difficult corner, but as long as you don't run wide. At this point, I was straight away going, wow, the AI seems very, very slow on lap 1. I know tyre temperatures are down. You can see that they're not fully green yet. Brake temperatures may not be up too. Having said that, I tried to go around the outside of this car, was unable to do so. On the switchback, I will defend. These are corners you wouldn't typically want to try and overtake on throughout an actual race, but yeah, it was good awareness from the AI. He knew I was there. I was able to do the old over and under, and now I can start pushing on for the top 2 straight away up to 3rd position with just 2nd and 1st in front of me. And I thought this is where I'm really going to test how the AI go, but there's sort of 2 parts to this test, I suppose. As I mentioned earlier, initially I jumped in as I take out all the bollards there. Probably not the best start to the race. I'll have to ask David if he normally does that to clear out the corner. But I did... There's 2 parts to kind of the AI that I wanted to test here. One, I need to try and find my level. I need to try and find the right number to set AI to. And as I continue, I guess this is more of a first impressions video than a straight up review of how the AI goes. But yeah, it's always difficult when you got such a big slider bar and you haven't had a lot of experience in the game against the AI to know what number to set it at. And I guess this is a pretty big deal for anyone who wants to do a full championship, because you're going to have to pick a setting at the start of the championship and just hope it works. There's nothing worse than having race 1 ruined because you've set the AI way too hard or nowhere near good enough and you absolutely smash them. So you can see I am now hounding the back of 2nd position. Got to try and pick my spot to overtake. This is certainly a big aspect of AI racing, is to try and figure out if they have an awareness of your presence, if they know you're there, and how they respond to that, how they react, if they defend. I did set the AI aggression in that previous screen you could see on 85. Again, I don't know if that's too high, too low, but I know when they were on 95, they were super aggressive in the early access phase. As I roll out, the last corner is an absolutely sketchy corner to try and overtake on. Still trying to get a feel for this. I didn't do a lot of practice coming into the race. That is something else that's going to determine the number. Side by side coming into turn 1, I rolled out of it and let him through. But I'm going to try for the over and under here. Much better run through that first turn. And it's just a simple block pass to get it done. I don't have to outbrake myself or him too much. I just need to be on the piece of track he'd rather be on. And he had no choice but to bow out of the way there. So that is up to second position. Obviously there is a 2 or so second gap up to first. So it's time to start pushing hard and see if I can chase him down. But yeah, going back to the AI difficulty itself, I came in on 90% to start with. I think that's where I used to put AI on the original Assetto Corsa game. This, of course, is very, very different. It's a similar feel. You can definitely tell that it's got its DNA from the first one, but it is a bit different how it works. It's on a totally different game engine for that matter. This one's on the Unreal Engine. I believe the first one was on a version of their own engine. But when I came in on 90, it was very tough. I did a lot of qualifying laps, or a lot of practice laps, and honestly it took me quite a few just to get off the bottom. I was in 27th and last, so I do have it set to 27 competitors. I sat last for a while. I finally strung together a relatively decent lap and went 26th, which isn't ideal. So second last, and I was quite a long way off the leaders. And straight away, I pushed the next lap and made a mistake. Straight away, I thought, you know what, the AI is too high. I need to go and turn that down. So I exited back out, set it to 85, didn't do a practice jump, straight into qualifying. Managed to get it 6th, and yep, it wasn't a good lap, but I was still a fair way behind the top couple of cars. Even though I had done the practice and I had lowered the difficulty, I thought, okay, that's not too bad. 6th position's a pretty good spot to start. I don't necessarily want to come straight in and win. In fact, I kind of don't want to. I want to start around that bottom of the top 10. So 6th isn't too bad. And then I just want a really good battle and make it feel like I've succeeded and I've achieved something if I can take the win. And also make me work for it. It shouldn't be a walk in the park. And hey, if I don't get the win, I only get 2nd or 3rd. Then I'm happy. But one thing I have noticed, I'm going to be testing this at other tracks, so do stay tuned to my channel if you're new. Good time to hit subscribe and that bell icon. But one thing I'm going to continue to test is the discrepancy in pace, as I make a pretty huge mistake there. So just as I caught the leader, I stuffed up, which is okay. It continues to push me a little bit harder. But one thing I want to test is the discrepancy between AI pace in qualifying and in the race itself. So in qualifying, I went much faster than I did in the race, I think at any point. And I do ease into it later in the race and actually set a fairly decent time. But nonetheless, the AI were seconds and seconds and seconds off the kind of pace they were doing in qualifying. Something to the tune of 5 seconds difference between their qualifying pace and their race pace. Now, cars are always going to go faster in qualifying, there's no doubt about that. But there just seemed this huge difference between how fast they were and how hard I had to push in qualifying to get a decent result. And in the race, as you can see, I've stomped my way through from 6th to 3rd very, very quickly on the first lap. I was able to hound 2nd position until I got the overtake done. And it's a similar story here with first. So there's a bit of a battle, and I don't want to take any risks or make any stupid moves that's going to cause us both to crash. And obviously close racing is a great way to test out how good the AI actually is. And, you know, to answer that one off my first impressions at least, they really do seem pretty good. Like, they are aware of my presence on the track. If I do go the overtake, they leave space. If they go for an overtake, they're sort of definitive. They're up the inside. They don't move across back onto the racing line. And that's always the thing that ruins AI in most games, I find at least. It's just they have no awareness of how fast you go. So there's probably 2 things that make... in fact, you can see I'm just pushing pretty hard. Great run out of the last turn, got up to the outside, rolled off it, and much like I did 2nd position, got the better run, but this time I couldn't perform the block pass, so he actually braked quite late, ducked to the inside. Again, good awareness of where I was. He cut back on the inside, but didn't cause a collision. And it was nice. For a little brief moment here, we had a decent battle, but you kind of always got that impression, as I'm literally rolling off the throttle there, you get the impression that it was just a matter of when I got past this guy, not if. But nonetheless, it was nice to battle close. And yeah, there's two key things that make for good racing AI. One is an awareness of you, the player. If the AI isn't really sure that you're there, or they just do random unpredictable things, take the racing line and essentially run into you, much like a real player would not do, then that's a sign of bad AI. And from what I saw in this race, that is not something I experienced. They really were very aware of me, where I was, and the sort of maneuvers they were taking, at least in the race. Qualifying was a different matter, and I might show a qualifying video as well. Again, much better run. I go around the outside. I've actually got such a good run there that he's got no choice but to tuck in behind me, and that is battle over and the lead taken. I am only halfway through the race. I'm not even going to let this race play out because, spoiler alert, I really did just stomp away, and I think I ended up winning by a pretty huge margin. I'll jump to the end here fairly soon. But yeah, there's a discrepancy between them in qualifying. Oh, that's what I was saying. The second part of what makes good AI. One, their awareness of you, and two, how realistic their driving standards are. So, are they really slow in some corners but really fast in others? And the difficulty with testing that is that it's going to depend how hard you've set the AI. I set mine to 85%. They were really slow through some of the slower corners, but overall, I think if you were out on a track day racing against someone that was a different skill level, a lower skill level to you, these guys were fairly similar. They were a little bit slower than you could be in some of the slow turns. The faster, easy corners, though, they still held full pace. So I give them a full tick for that part. As I say, qualifying was a bit different. They didn't seem to have a huge awareness of me. They were a little bit unpredictable. Blue flags meant nothing, but certainly in the race, I'm happy enough. The biggest issue I found here is the fact that even though in qualifying, I really felt like 85 was going to be a competitive number in the race, it turned out not to be at all, and I really just cruised through the rest of the race and didn't push too hard. But I'm going to go ahead and jump through to the final lap of the race as I make a huge mistake coming into the second last corner. I think I'd switched my brain off by then because I was, as you can see, the bottom left-hand corner, well over 20 seconds in front of second position. But I guess in summary, for what is a first impressions video of how the AI is, I think they are really good at having an awareness of you and your presence on the track. I think they are fairly predictable in the way they race and the speeds that they corner, so they are two massive ticks. And I can't really comment further until I find the right number to set them at to make it competitive for me. There does seem to be that discrepancy between qualifying and the race. I'm going to test that further though. Again, take everything I say with a pinch of salt. This is my very first test, but hopefully you got something out of it. This game looks amazing, and I still recommend that you give it a go if you have the system to do so. So far, I'm very impressed with the single player aspect of the game. I look forward to trying more again in the future, but if you have enjoyed it, remember to leave a like. As I said before, if you're new, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon. I do hope to see you in upcoming videos, but thank you very much for watching. I can't wait to talk to you all next time, but for now, it's goodbye.